We live in a society that often picks sides and imposes its view on some of the choices we make. While most people may conform to so-called societal norms, there are many who choose to live life on their own terms. On the show today, we have a powwow with interesting individuals who decided not to conform to so-called societal norms.
I told my mother that I know I'm gay, and she said that you have to keep this as a secret. And guess what? I'm in Tara Sharma Show.
A chat with a single mother who's broken stereotypes to experience the joy of parenthood.
My biological clock was clicking and I thought I can have my baby of my own. And I'm single. My family, all of them, they said, why not?
And a tete-a-tete with the first prince in the world to come out of the royal closet.
I don't want to renounce the world and become a saint.
Yes.
Neither do I want to join the transgenders. I want to live the normal life which I'm living now. And I'm proud to be gay.
We met a few very interesting individuals to understand the reasons behind some of their choices and the pressures they face because of these choices, decisions, and circumstances. We have with us here today on our powwow some really interesting people who've fought those so-called pressures and societal norms to live life on their own terms. We have with us Shire, who does a lot of work for the LGBT community, for women, for children, and for animals. How did you come out and tell your family that you were gay?
First, when I told my mother, her first reaction was that I'm going to throw you out of the house and you have to fend for yourself. But by that time, I was sure that I was gay. So I told my mother that I know I'm gay. I could get married to a woman because I love you. But suggest that to me only if you had a daughter and you'd get your daughter married off to a gay man. Mother said, how would I know? I said, that's exactly the point. Yeah. You would never know. That doesn't mean I would fool a woman just because it's convenient and that's what the society believes. I believe that women also have equal rights to their body, to sexuality, and to their feelings also. Then my mother got up and she said that I really accept you for the way you are, but she said that you have to keep this as a secret. And guess what? I'm in Tara Sharma Show.
That's amazing. And honestly, Harish, you touch upon a really interesting point about how a lot of people, perhaps because of the pressure, succumb and actually live a life that isn't what they want. So it really is brave to actually stand up to that and not give in. Talking about giving in, we have Neha Malhotra. Neha is in her late 30s. She's not married. She's going to talk a little bit about how it's been very frustrating when you're concentrating on your career and people honestly often choose just not to see that, and their first question is, why isn't there a ring on your finger?
Yeah.
So how have you dealt with that?
To be honest, I've never really cared very much for what people thought. Yeah. My career has always been very important to me, and that just stirred my life. My family and my friends they've never really subjected me to being different, but understood that it was just where I was in my life. But yes, it was really hard socially I've lived between London and Bombay, and every time I came back, it was like a slap in my face that there was something wrong with me. Because it was other people saying, aren't you going to get married? Aren't you going to have kids? No one wanted to know what I was doing with my time. No one cared about my career. No one really asked what I was doing with my life.
We also have Chetna Mehrotra. She's a single mother who homeschools her son, and she lives in with her partner. When you separated from your husband, was there pressure for you to get married again or to get back with your husband and thought that was the way you would be all right?
In my growing up years, I've never seen a marriage falling apart.
Yeah.
Growing up in these value systems, I actually had no courage to speak about what was happening to me for those 10 years.
Yeah.
And psychologists say I suffered from something called as the Stockholm Syndrome, where the victim does not realize that he or she is under an oppression.
Okay.
Well, finally, when one night at 2 o'clock, when I realized I had to walk out of the door with my son, I spoke to my father and he was completely asking me to just stay back. And relatives, no one called me, there was no support. Yeah. And I had to stay with my Didi, the house help, the maid, for 2 days in her chawl and come back the third day and look for a house. Yeah. The only support I had was my son.
Wow, Chetna, that's really brave, to have stood up and lived life on your own terms. So Neha, when people keep saying, why aren't you married? Do you think there are people who feel so much pressure that they just settle?
There are some people that don't have a choice because they come from really difficult backgrounds. They've not had the freedom to think of what they want for themselves. That pushes you into it. For me, my work became very important to me at a certain point. My age didn't. But every time you meet family or you meet friends and it's constantly in your face, I can understand how that can kind of take over.
So
in
that you're
certain
not doing it for
societies.
yourself, but you're doing it because
Yeah.
of these societal pressures.
Absolutely.
So Chetna, living in with your partner, did you face opposition from your family and friends? Was there societal pressure about that?
Yes, so this decision was quite tough for me to do. However, my boyfriend, and he's 6 years younger to me, it was his decision that he would stay with us for a week and see how it works out with my son. And my son is hugely happy. So I think it's worked really well.
Right.
And the way we've kind of approached our own families and spoken about it,
Yeah.
and people have understood that it's your individual life and our happiness counts more than what you perceive out of the building.
Harish, as a gay person, I'm sure you also have a paternal instinct, right? And perhaps you would like to have kids. Is that something you've explored?
Speaking about paternal instincts, forget paternal. I mean, I have maternal instincts also,
Yeah.
and everyone has both the instincts.
Yeah.
Regulations don't allow gay people to adopt. So I have decided to beat the regulation and have my own norm. You didn't allow me to adopt one child. I have decided to adopt a whole NGO and a
Wow.
whole orphanage. And I want more and more gay people to come out and do things like that. I mean, if there is one stop, it's not a full stop. And you just
Absolutely.
need to go further and do something more about it.
Yeah.
So thank God for all the pressures.
I think all of you have been very brave in sticking to what you believe in and in some ways fighting those societal norms so that everyone conforms to what you want. Is there anything you'd like to say to our viewers who may be relating to one or more of these situations?
I think that it's very important that we accept people the way they are. People don't really turn gay or turn straight. They're just gay, or they're just straight, or they're just bisexual, or they're transgender. So it's very important that we understand that. And when we say that you have to be normal and not like them, I would like to say that normal is the biggest stereotype.
There is nothing that is normal. Everyone's unique, I think. Chetna, is there anything you would like to say?
So for me, the whole phrase of power of expression holds very, very strongly now in me. And I feel each one, even if it's a small child, to an adult, to an old person, each one should be entitled to something called as individual power of expression. And of course, taking care of people around you, the boundaries around you.
And Neha?
We have to be happy with where we're at. Whether society tells you you're not okay because you're single, you have to be comfortable in your skin and do what you have to do at that point.
Absolutely.
And everything else falls into place.
Absolutely. I think there are lots of people out there, perhaps, who are struggling with some kind of pressure. And I think you guys are going to be really inspirational to them.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you,
Thank
Tara,
you
for
very
having
much.
us.
Coming up, a chat with a single mother who's broken stereotypes to experience the joy of parenthood.
The question will come, if you have a father, my cousins have a father, why don't I have a father? When the question comes, I will come to that at that point of time.
And a heartwarming and inspirational chat with the first prince in the world to come out of the royal closet about the repercussions that he faced.
I don't want to renounce the world and become a saint.
Yes.
Neither do I want to join the transgenders. I want to live the normal life which I'm living now. And I'm proud to be gay.
It's not always easy to follow a path that's not the so-called societal norm. But if you're resolute and strong in your beliefs, you can make that path easier. I met a dear friend, Rutu, who told me about the path she's chosen that is not a so-called societal norm, about the joys that decision has given her and some of the pressures that have come with it. So Rutu, going back in time, did you have much family pressure to get married?
Parents never put pressure on me to get married, like you must get married, you must have a family, nothing. And my biological clock was clicking and I thought I can have my baby of my own.
Yes.
So I went to my parents and I said, I want my own child.
Yeah.
My family, all of them supported me and they said, why not?
Yeah, that's wonderful when you have the support of your nearest and dearest. So when Rutu came to you and she said this, what was your first reaction?
She had researched enough to come and tell us that she can, through surrogacy,
And
through
freeze
her own eggs,
Freezing your own egg.
freezing my eggs
and getting a
getting
donor, can get her own baby.
So how did you actually go about that research?
I went to Dr. Parikh's history. She said, yes, I have a donor profiles. I'll give you the name. You look at profiles. So we had to go through about thousands and thousands of profiles and they don't come with a name. They'll come with a number.
Wow, that is so
So-
fascinating. Talking about the role of a father. Now, you of course have 3 kids, and has the role of their father been equally important as your role in bringing them up?
They were brought up in a very liberal environment, but yet there was a father. As far as Rutu is concerned, the father is not there to play
I'm the mother
role.
and the father for her.
So how does that work? Do you find yourself sometimes a little stretched?
Not as yet, because she's still young. And the question will come, I know, if you have a father, my cousins have a father, why don't I have a father? When the question comes, I will come to that at that point of time.
Yes.
Now, my father, my two brothers are the male features in her life.
Yes.
So they are filling up for the father bit of it.
I think what's so wonderful is that this family support, it obviously makes it clear that she's not lacking anything.
I really don't know what I would do without the two parents of mine. I really have no clue.
So now talking about society, have you faced any societal sort of pressure?
Everyone has welcomed her, even the domestic help.
Yeah.
I would say they've said, oh wow, baby ko bacha hone ka hai. Ye bahut acha kaam kar raha hum log."
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
I remember being horrified when you told
when
me
I
that,
told
that
you,
a
yes.
very
Reputed
prestigious nursery school refused you admission based on your birth
circumstances.
which is absolutely horrific.
And that was discrimination they did.
I think this is a very important issue, and that's why for shows like this, what we're trying to do, even in a small way, if there's someone out there who relates, who may want to have a child but they're not married, there is a biological clock, and feels that they can do it. And I think stories like this are hugely inspirational. That they don't have to feel that, oh my God, I'll never have a child if I want one. If you had to give any tips to anyone out there who may be in that situation, what would you like to say?
If you want a child, please do it. To be a mother, it is the most wonderful, wonderful thing to do.
That's wonderful. That's so lovely to hear. And really, thank you both so much.
Thank you.
It is amazing the joy that little Ahilya has brought into the lives of her mother and her grandmother, and in fact, all the family. We hear so much about the LGBT community and how things are hopefully getting better in terms of more acceptance and less prejudice. But there are still many archaic laws which make it very difficult for people to be open about their sexuality. And if you're from a conservative royal family, the pressures are perhaps even greater. We met the first prince in the world to come out of the royal closet. He's the heir to the Maharaja of Rajpipla, the first Indian prince to be open about his sexual orientation. He has a foundation, the Lakshya Trust, that does wonderful work to raise awareness on HIV/AIDS. He also started the Free Gay India movement 2 years ago to raise awareness about India's anti-gay laws. By his own admission, he's the only Indian to have been invited by Oprah onto her show 3 times. So we are thrilled to have with us Prince Manvendra. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Tara, for having me here.
What were you like as a child?
I was raised in a very protected atmosphere because born in the royal families, like born in the golden spoon, as it is called.
Yeah.
So a lot of protocols, a lot of rules and regulations, norms to be followed. And of course, I was raised by a nanny, which is the most common thing in most royal families.
Yeah.
So though there was a lot of luxury in life and everything, the one thing which I missed was the love and affection by the parents. It was very difficult for me to understand when I was coming at age that somebody who's raising me is not my mother. So it was a very challenging time in my life.
My God. Do you remember when you were first aware of your sexual orientation?
Most of us, whether you're heterosexual or homosexual, we kind of get to know about one's sexual orientation at the time of puberty.
Right.
So like when boys in my class used to bully the girls, I didn't like that. I would sympathize with them, and I didn't know why I was taking girls' side, but I wasn't happy what the boys treated the girls, and not knowing what was my orientation. And of course, there was a kind of attraction towards the same sex.
Yes.
Not realizing, because in those days there was no
Didn't talk
education,
about
there was
it
no social media, networking, no exposure. And then growing in the royal family itself was so closeted in itself that I didn't get a chance to talk to anyone also.
So if you were beginning to have those feelings and you yourself weren't sure, was there anyone that you did confide in, or how did you eventually come out about it?
I thought maybe this would be a temporary phase in my life, and when I would become an adult, things would change for me. It was so conflicting. I mean, I couldn't express this thing to anyone.
And do you think your parents had any inclination that you may have different sexual orientation, or do you think if they did, they didn't broach it at all?
Most mothers, they know about
Yeah,
their
they might
sexuality.
be able to
And
see.
my mother used to behave very funnily, very oddly with me. There would be times in my life where for no reason she would stop talking to me.
As a mother,
Yeah.
I can't even imagine why she's doing this, because it's been 11 years
Yes,
since
it's
she
been 11
spoke
years.
to you.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you're in the same space, is she even remotely cordial or absolutely nothing?
No, she kind of avoids me, you know. I also kind of avoid the situation because I don't want to have a conflict. It's because even before I came out of the closet openly, I had come out to her. But I'm sorry to say, in spite of her graduation and post-graduation in psychology and philosophy, still she has wrong conceptions about being gay. I mean, and a lot of people in India still think that gays are hijras or gays are transgenders, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, so she also thinks the same.
You took the
Yes.
step in 91
Yes,
to get
yes,
married.
yes.
Did you actually think that getting married
Yeah.
would be the answer?
I kind of agreed to get married thinking that perhaps after marriage things would become normal.
So-called.
You know, so-called
So-called
normal.
normal. Everything is
so-called
normal.
Yes,
Yeah.
so-called normal. I mean, I thought maybe I would kind of start getting attracted towards the opposite sex or something like that. We got divorced a year later. It was quite amicable, and we kind of did it with mutual consent because I thought it's no point leading this life where she's being kind
Miserable.
of tortured or, you know, for no fault of hers.
Yes.
She did tell me one thing that you have tried to spoil my life, please don't do it again, which actually motivated me to kind of explore that what went wrong, that why didn't this marriage be a success.
My God, that's quite a
So,
story.
Everyone in my family is nice to me except my mother. She said, look, if you have to stay here, you have to get married. And if you don't want to get married, then you renounce the world or you join the hijras. So I said, I can't do neither of them. I want to live the normal life which I'm living now.
Yes.
And I'm proud to be gay.
How did you actually come out of the closet?
I was reading about a gay activist in one of the magazines called Ashok Rao Kavi, who had come out with the first gay magazine of India, who happened to be my next door neighbor. And the funny thing is that my mother introduced him to me, not knowing he's gay. And it was Ashok, who I call my godfather, who actually helped me to not only just accept myself, but he was the one who made me feel proud.
Yes.
That to be gay is nothing wrong.
Absolutely.
And he was the one who exposed me to the gay world.
So did that then propel you to get into activism?
Yeah, so Ashok was the one who trained me why HIV is important for the gay community because we are very vulnerable. Because of his instigations and his motivations, I founded the Lakshya Trust in the state of Gujarat, which is the first organization to work exclusively for the gay community for HIV.
You know, you often read headlines of papers saying, in India, being gay is illegal. I didn't realize that it's actually not.
Yeah.
It's actually perfectly legal to have whatever sexual orientation, and you have the freedom of choice. After all, we're the world's biggest democracy. But I think they say it's the act of consummating that orientation, or if you're having sexual relations, not for procreation. So isn't that a little bit strange, given that a lot of heterosexual people have sexual relations not for procreation?
Yeah, this is a direct breach of the right to privacy.
Absolutely.
What two individuals do with consent of each other within the four walls of the bedrooms, and if they're adults, it has nothing to do with the government. Whether you're a heterosexual or you're homosexual, it targets the entire population of India. Because this says any kind of a sexual act which doesn't result in procreation, you should be punished for that.
So what's your view? Are things really changing, or do you think that it's kind of on the surface?
Definitely things are changing. When I came out, there was a lot of people who are against me.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of homophobia in our society. But Oprah's invitation opened the doors to a lot of people changing their mindset.
Perception.
Yeah. Now, in fact, the royal family of India, my cousins and all, they feel proud.
Yes.
Oh, we have a royal amongst us who has been to the Oprah show.
3 times. Now that you've achieved all this and you're doing such wonderful work, has there been a change in your parents' perception and their interactions with you?
See, everyone in my family is nice to me except my mother. She's a very tough nut to crack, as it's called. In fact, she's the princess of Jaisalmer in Rajasthan. And everyone in the royal family of Jaisalmer is supporting me, except her. She said, look, if you have to stay here, you have to get married, even if you're gay. And if you don't want to get married, then you renounce the world or you join the hijras. So I said, I can't do neither of them. I don't want to renounce the world and become a saint.
Yes.
Neither do I want to join the transgenders. I want to live the normal life which I'm living now.
Yes.
And I'm proud to be gay.
I think there really does need to be a mindset change.
Right, right.
So if there is any tip you'd like to give any parents out there who may think that their children may be gay, is there anything you'd like to say to them to kind of make that journey easier for their children?
Yeah, I would like to tell the parents that love your children. If you want to see your children happy, then accept them how they are.
Yes.
And the way they are, instead of showing disrespect to them or hatred towards them, because they are, after all, your children.
Absolutely. And don't try and fit, square pegs into round holes.
Exactly.
So thank you so much, Prince Manvendra. It's been such a pleasure having you on the show. And we'd like to give you a little gift. It's from Studio Pepperfly.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. It's really been a pleasure. And I think we'll go a long way in helping raise awareness. And if anyone out there thinks they may be gay, I think the big lesson is talk to your family, talk to your parents, try and make them understand there's absolutely nothing wrong. And thank you. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you so much.
As always, I learned so much from talking to the guests on my show. Sometimes agreeing, sometimes perhaps disagreeing makes it a truly incredible experience. Perhaps it may help some of you out there who may be grappling with situations that are not the societal norms. Till we meet again, bye-bye. Next week, we meet the charming actress Sonam Kapoor to talk about the role of dads.
My father cut me off when I was 18. He said, you want to become an adult? Become an adult.
Really?
And it is one of the best things anybody's ever done for me.
We also meet a group of parents who talk about the role of dads in today's time.
I think in the upbringing of a child, the role of a dad is very important. But having said that, he needs to have both the parents dedicating time just for the overall development of the child.
And a renowned Bollywood choreographer, Sandeep Soparkar, tells us how his life has changed for the better after adopting a child.
I think adoption is a beautiful coming together of people. I personally feel it is more bonding than a biological relationship.